Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome back to an episode of the USL Show. It is great to be back another week, and we have 5 people on the screen, and it's a wonderful time to see that. So it's time to say hello to Phil. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. After a little work travel where I had the, that meme of the Princess Diaries, Miracles Happen music of like Welcome to Genovia. I had that in Columbus, Ohio last week. So at the Hyatt downtown. So yeah, but glad to be back.
Ryan, how are you?
Doing well. Just had a lot of colder weather this week after previously fun, warmer weather previously. So trying to adjust to that.
Alex, how are you doing?
Yeah, I can't complain. Week 5 USL 1 starts tomorrow on a doubleheader on a Wednesday.
A classic. John, how are you doing?
Doing well. Shout out to my boys, the Oakland Roots, for hooking me up with the lovely kit as well.
Was great. Right now, I think Phil's the only one on screen not wearing a jersey. So
No, I feel like I'm in need of a costume change, to be honest.
If your screen goes blank for a little bit, we'll know what happens.
It ain't going blank. You're getting the full. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's go ahead. Before we hop in, I want to go ahead and thank Will Owen, Sandy Lester, Ryan Smeltzer, Matt Capill, Timothy Meadows, Andrew Towsley, Olive Hedgehog, Kunal Patel, MOS, NF Resh 30, Tim Knox, Rian Lacara, Stephen Howard, Jeremy Churchman, Alberto Aguilar, Noah Telford, Michael Fuchs, Joshua Duder, John Fuller, Christopher Cohn, Frank Anthony, John Hunt, and Harry Austin for supporting the show and being wonderful, beautiful patrons. I really do appreciate all of you. You help us do this, and it's awesome. And you also allow us to go do fun trips like we'll do at the end of July when we go to Portland, Maine, to see Portland take on the Pittsburgh Riverhounds in the Jägermeister Cup. There was a whole lot of cool stuff that happened this week, and we'll get into a little bit of U.S. Open Cup talk, but here's a little bit of just kind of I guess housekeeping a little bit. A fun moment today as we're recording this with the Carolina Sin versus DC Power, where DC Power's Valentina Perrotta gets a appearance at just 14 years old in the USL Super League. 14 years old. I teach 14-year-olds. They're nowhere close to being professional athletes. That is insane. And she looked the part. It's been really fun. Obviously, the match is still going on, but she has looked every little bit of it. I mean, super fun stuff. Good for her.
A DC team, say what you will about some of the results on the field, that has really made an effort to play young players all season long. Kudos to them, like another feather in their cap here.
Yeah. Ryan, you had some USL news that you brought up.
Yeah, we had mentioned Portland previous to their show, but I thought it was a really cool feature from them that they're going to give out 1,500 tickets over the course of the season to various local school groups and summer camps as well. That I thought Portland Hearts of Pine just doing a lot of really good things in their community. Need to get the ball rolling on their expansion year.
Yeah, there's going to be a whole lot of conversation about League One and just kind of the way they've a lot of them are building community, and Portland is at the forefront right now of building said community. Alex, you were talking about a community that was being built soon
Yes.
with Boise.
Speaking of expansions, USL Boise, or Boise Pro Soccer, however they're called right now, announced this week that they sold 2,527 season ticket deposits in 1 week, which they claim is a new USL record. I didn't email Ethan or to verify that, but that's a pretty bold claim, and a lot of season ticket deposits for a new club. That is, if they can convert half of those, they'll be among the top of the league.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of conversations that I definitely want to have in terms of League One. But when you look across to AV Alta, Naples, what Portland's been doing in the U.S. Open Cup, what Boise appears to be building, obviously we have to get there, but the fact that we're taking deposits is huge. League One is having some big showings out of their expansions, and it's really, really cool. Absolutely love to see it. We're going to get into a little bit of US Open Cup talk, but we're going to show you a little bit of a preview of the episode that's coming out tomorrow here on the US Open Cup on the USL Show, where at around midnight of Wednesday, so Wednesday morning, it's going to drop the open to the public of our trip out to Chattanooga for Chattanooga FC versus Chattanooga Red Wolves.
When we think red and blue, oftentimes we like to pin the two colors against each other, like they were natural rivals from the very beginning. Some of us get very political and we think about Democrat versus Republican. Some of us are rather sporty, and we decide, hey, Everton versus Liverpool, Manchester United versus Manchester City, Alabama versus Auburn. You have a lot of reds and blues. Heck, there's even a famous video series on old YouTube, may Rooster Teeth rest in peace, red versus blue. It's just natural to pin those two teams against each other. And we're finally seeing on the pitch today, here at historic Finley Stadium, red versus blue on the pitch. You see, Finley Stadium is the epicenter for the soccer wars and is a great example of what the U.S. soccer system is like, where just like real life wars, you have battles for land, battles for money, battles for people. No matter what, you want to take control of it. And Chattanooga Red Wolves try to take control of this. But if you look closely, everything around here is still blue. Because despite everything the Chattanooga Red Wolves and the USL, yes, this is coming from the USL Show, the USL tried to do, this team, Chattanooga FC, would not die. They fought battles. They went at each other off the pitch. But finally, for the first time, now in the second round of the U.S. Open Cup, we're going to see Chattanooga Red Wolves versus Chattanooga FC. And it's all going to be at the epicenter, at the heart of where it all took place, Finley Stadium. Let's get inside.
And I hate hearing myself talk.
That was
goosebumps.
art, dude.
Goosebumps.
I cannot believe you
That
cut
looked great.
that trailer. That rocks.
That was sick.
My only beef with what's happening is that my hairline just isn't holding up. You know, it's just not going great.
Hats,
life.
Taylor. Hats. This is
But
your
hey.
future.
Yeah, this is true. I might as well just accept this. Except I can't wear hats into school. It's fine. Anyway,
Fight
so-
the power.
Fight the power. If I wore a hat, I don't know what would happen to me, to be fair. They would probably just be like, take that off. And I'm like, you don't want that.
You're not that bad up top there, man.
No, you're
And-
still in good territory. You
It
got time.
can look bad. It can look bad. Anyway, so yeah, it was very fun. But Chattanooga, man, I feel like that's where we have to start. I mentioned this at the very end of the episode that's dropping tomorrow. I have never seen anything like that. I went to the U.S. Open Cup match between FC Cincinnati and Chicago Fire when they were still in the USL. I went to Birmingham versus Inter Miami when they had 17,000. I've been to Alabama versus Auburn, Alabama versus Tennessee. I've been to big rivalries. I never saw anything like that. Like it was insane to be in the middle of. I don't know what it was like at watching on TV, but there were so many times that I was just staring at what was around me. I forgot to film because I just could not stop just watching the people. The match was what it was, but the people was just pure cinema.
It looked incredible on TV. I can tell you. I can say that much. I did a live broadcast with Walking 90 that night. We had a lot of fun watching that crowd.
when they got to it was a great game overall. Like, you could tell both sides were so invested. But when you got to the penalty kicks, all the fans moving down to that end, the reaction you could see from the Red Wolves supporters, who, I mean, small but mighty. Like, obviously that was probably 11,000 Chattanooga FC fans and a smaller contingent of Red Wolves folks. But yeah, magical moment.
Yeah, and say what you will about what the USL did or did not do allegedly. I'm really excited for the players to have experienced something like that. I know a lot of them were just thrilled about playing. Well, I think one of them said on social media afterwards, like, it's just you don't know what it's like to play in a huge game like that matters for something. They loved it. They have nothing to do with the politics behind all of it. They're there to make their whatever they make to play for Chattanooga Red Wolves and CFC. But they took it all in, and I think they really enjoyed it.
I think it's something that's so desperately needed at this level in this competition, because there are so many people who sort of write off the Open Cup, especially, MLS has quite literally written it off for half of the league. And so I think this sort of game is extremely important because it shows just what's at stake for these clubs, and how much, like, even just in this game, yes, it was a place in the next round, but it was so much more than that to both of these squads and to both of these sets of fans. And that is when you talk about, like, the magic of the cup, this is the sort of game that you're talking about. Pitting these crosstown rivals against each other, I think, is just like something that US soccer needs more of. And I was very glad to see, this one come out in the draw, and it lived up to the hype as well.
And it was the second highest attended match in Open Cup history of the second round as well, after an aforementioned FC Cincinnati run. So it kind of showed off what Chattanooga soccer was as a spectacle. I recall, like, we've all seen the Don Garber quote, the Don Garber tifo of him taking a shot at Chattanooga, but, like, it really showed that this cup means something to a lot of people. Chattanooga's fan support has been phenomenal historically, and it just really was a showcase for the league. And like Phil, that you had mentioned, having these close by derby matches is very important for the Open Cup. And, like, even to mention as another one, Portland beating Hartford in this round as well was another example of having a geographic rivalry this early round doing something for a community.
The biggest thing in the conversation immediately after the match was territory rights. Get rid of them. Yes, do that. But I think what I was left with was Chattanooga can support two clubs, right? It was like, man, like, this is truly a two club town. If you go, I don't know how many of y'all have ever been to Chattanooga, but every business has one of their logos on it. And that's not an exaggeration. You'll walk into a business and they'll have a Chattanooga FC flag. You'll go into another business and they'll have the Red Wolves logo on there. You can't go to a single business in that town without seeing one of the logos. It's a real deal, like, two club town. So, like,
well played, Ben.
Thank you, Ben. If you're not someone who is on the YouTube live show, just check out the comments. But it was really interesting because the old idea of you need one club in a city, I think, comes from a good place of US soccer hadn't built up enough, but it is now. I think a lot of cities truly can support two clubs, even in a town like Chattanooga, which isn't huge. It was pretty cool to see. Maybe, let more of these clubs into the league if we're still going to be a part of a quote unquote closed league. Just bring them all in, get rid of those territory rights. What about some other, unless y'all want to keep talking about this, is there any other US Open Cup stuff that we want to kind of talk about?
Just El Farolito.
Yeah, El Farolito. I was going to say Burrito Boys. Yeah.
That was like that. All I'll say about it is, if you watch just the first half, you'd be like, this game ends 11-0 Monterey Bay. Like, it was total domination. Like, in the first half from Monterey Bay, and they couldn't put it away. And this is like, it was the, quintessential, the danger of not putting the game away when you're on top, right? And El Farolito suffer extremely well in this game, and then go and do what they do, which is they are extremely dangerous when they get into the late stages of games, and they get some legs. I mean, it's an extremely fit team, and they took advantage of a Monterey Bay side that really should have seen them off in probably the first 20 or 30 minutes.
You think about the second half of this game, El Farolito outshoots Monterey 13-4. Monterey doesn't get a single shot on target. I think that's a credit to the way that El Farolito isn't one of the lower league clubs that bunkers in. Like, they want to play soccer. It's a back four. They're clever with the midfield. Denbar Benson is that guy. Like, he's just a killer. I wouldn't be shocked to see him end up with another pro contract once it's all said and done here. I don't know if they'll be able to get past Sacramento, but I'm excited to see them try.
And with El Farolito being the last open division team left in the competition, that's $50,000 into their pockets for advancing this far. And for example, $50,000 would buy 15,000 regular tacos from an El Farolito restaurant.
Heck yeah. We never got the question. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
My mic came unplugged. I put the question out there last week, but we didn't really get an answer. Are the burritos even that good? Because everybody says the burrito boys, but no one's ever said they're good burritos.
I think it is like a beloved restaurant chain, in addition to the fact that, like,
okay,
they have a 6 soccer team too.
Yeah.
I'm going to put out a hot take that I've put out there before, but I want to get it out there because I'm definitely will put my face behind this. I'm really glad that Union Omaha won, because I am really sick of Des Moines Menace right now, because I understand NCAA rules are what they are, and getting the players that earn the way into the U.S. Open Cup is, really hard. But my goodness, I hate seeing players that are basically just ringers come in and take away opportunities from players who earn their way in. It is fun for Des Moines Menace. It's a fun way to get more eyes on your brand, and in the end, that's kind of what it's about in the lower leagues, especially in League Two. But it really bothers me. It really rubs me the wrong way, and I know it comes down to NCAA rules, but it really rubs me the wrong way.
I just think it's funny that MLS employees knocked out an MLS Next Pro team and then lost to a USL side. Like, that's very funny to me. And there's some kind of soccer wars joke in there somewhere.
And like Sasha Kleshin getting his second yellow from the bench, like, that's art. What more can you say than that? Like, that's why we play the games. I agree with you in principle, but it is very fun in practice, Scalar.
I think it's good. Like, I mean, they do have trouble finding those amateur players this time of year. So, it's good for those players to come in and volunteer as the elder statesmen who don't need any money. Whatever they win, it goes right back into the team to use for the rest of the year, if they would make that far, which they did not. But
will Sasha Kleshin be still suspended from his next match if he were to come back for the 2026 edition of the Cup? Just like Clint Dempsey is still suspended for his return to the Open Cup one day.
yes.
All right. Any other U.S. Open Cup combos?
Shout out Hearts of Pine for beating Hartford doesn't really mean a whole lot at this point in time, but still, that was a great game and a great environment, and you love to see it for them.
And Jake Keegan coming off the bench to score. I love that.
Yeah. Who they have Rhode Island next? Portland does? I think that's right. I don't know. Someone's checking for me. But yeah, that's that I cannot wait to get up to Portland, because every time I watch one of their U.S. Open Cup matches, it just looks incredible. Ryan, you seem like you have an answer.
They do. They have Rhode Island next at
Oh.
home too.
Nice. What if they just go the entire way at home? just keep drawing all at home. Be great.
They're not even at home yet. It's at that high
Yeah, I was
school in
gonna say.
Lewiston.
Yeah.
Technically home, but
Kind of home.
they haven't
All
even
right.
opened up their home yet.
Let's go ahead and go over to the Super League. Why don't we? And I want to go ahead start off with, can I call them one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in the league right now, with Spokane? Where Spokane downs Brooklyn 1-0. And you see the score line, you're like, is that a good match? Genuinely, the first half was end to end. Like, Brooklyn was creating chances. Then you had Spokane, who I think hit the bar 2-3 times, also creating chances. They were really doing everything but putting the ball into the back of the net. They were creating so much, but in the end, it is a 1-0 win for the Zephyr as Spokane is clawing their way up the standings and Brooklyn's letting them into the fight.
I mean, I think Spokane was a team that we always liked the process, but it never really came together, especially with the finishing. And there were aspects of that in this match, if we're being honest, like Mackenzie Weinert off the woodwork twice. But I think overall, they held Brooklyn to 0.6 XG. That's the indicator of a very good defensive performance. I thought Bellata coming in at the number 6 spot was unreal, clogging space in the middle, preventing Brooklyn from what they do best, which is getting the ball into the half spaces, working from side to side. They felt restricted to one portion of the pitch or another, very low quality chances when they got them. And then Spokane's second half comes out. They switch the wings. Ekich and Weinert trade sides. I thought that was what they needed to get over the line, fix the footedness. And that's really what we've seen for most of the year. Ekich on the left, Weinert on the right. Paid off for them in the end. So deserved win and a good performance for Spokane.
Spokane, you talked about the end-to-end nature of the first half, Kaylor, and I think like Spokane's sharpness on the break is ultimately what leads to the goal. Yes, Kanich, the pass that she plays through for Ekich and the initial shot. Yeah, just textbook. And I think in general, you could see Mackenzie Weinert, like obviously she hits the bar twice, but this was her first goal of the season, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you could see the relief from Weinert, like in the celebration as well. And if this sort of uncorks the bottle for her, then Spokane like could be even further, like more dangerous down the stretch here.
If you look at it just from the other perspective with Brooklyn, like we keep mentioning that they are still looking for that first win of the spring session. They haven't won since December. I mean, Leicester's current goal drought in the Premier League is 215 times, and as long for Brooklyn's current winless streak, just for like a comparison of two droughts at the moment. So it's like Kaylor, you mentioned, Brooklyn is letting teams back into this playoff race.
Which I guess is the wider question I'm going to present to you guys. Is there a world where somebody on the outside of that top 4 makes their way into the playoffs? Because the way Brooklyn is going, it's hard for me to see them getting it together anytime soon, because the first half had promise, but the second half it fizzled out. It just doesn't feel like there is a lot going right for them. Do we see that 5 team sneaking in, or even someone from a little farther down?
I mean, Tampa Bay is 3 points back with a game in hand. That feels likely. Spokane has 2 games in hand, and while the deficit is bigger, a real 6-pointer like we saw last week, that matters in the standings. I've not seen enough from Brooklyn since they last won in December to trust what they're doing. I like the talent, I like the ideas, but man, it something needs to give there.
They're the only team in the top half with a negative goal difference. And right now, Fort Lauderdale and Tampa Bay are both playing better than them. So, and that's not even counting Spokane. So, I mean, I think, yeah, unless they do something drastic, it might not just be a matter of not making the playoffs. Like, they might not end up close if they aren't careful.
Keep in mind they had the best goal differential in the league coming into this split, and they're the
Crazy.
negative now.
Yeah, they have been hurt by the break.
Granted, that 6-0 against Dallas does a lot to negate it, but still.
Of course. And, you mentioned Fort Lauderdale and Tampa Bay. Well, Tampa Bay down Fort Lauderdale 2-0 down at Riverfront Stadium, where I'm going to be honest, watching Fort Lauderdale play out from the back and just constantly play with fire was giving me anxiety. And it does finally cost them in the first goal, where Tampa Bay's pressure, as they've been doing all year long, and it's been working, just a high press in the midfield and forcing them to pass it back or get the interception. They're so aggressive with trying to intercept the ball and press the ball. That's how they get their first goal. Fort Lauderdale tried to go up and get an equalizer. They get caught out. That's the second one. It's a really textbook performance from Tampa Bay in their principles, which is a high press, super aggressive, get everybody forward, will score by grace or by force. And for Fort Lauderdale, honestly, Shania Gordon had a great match. She's really coming into her own after not scoring at all, then getting a brace. She's really been a really key feature for Fort Lauderdale. She played great, but everybody else felt a tick off. If I'm Fort Lauderdale, I'm just like, it is what it is. If I'm Tampa Bay's son, I feel great about the performance.
And I think Tampa Bay game planned pretty brilliantly. 4-4-2-ish shape for them, matching up essentially man-to-man against that back line for Fort Lauderdale. Did really well to deny the bounce passes up the middle, not letting them get into their possessive rhythm. You mentioned Gordon and Hamid. They got 4 touches in the box the entire game. Not what you want to see if you're Tyrone Mears. But I think that play you mentioned, the kind of the instance where Jordan Lystra steps up from the midfield, intercepts a pass and build, and then curls one in. That's like the ideal that Tampa Bay was looking for in this match. And I think it represents a lot of what went right for them. This is a team in good form. We've, again, been very positive about what we've seen. Feels like they're rounding into kind of the peak performance at the right time to catch up to Brooklyn and really push on for a playoff run.
They set the trap. That Listro goal, it was like she just baits that pass in and gives just enough space to make it look like it's available, reads it the whole way, and the finish with the left foot, just classy as all get out. So it was not a bad performance from Fort Lauderdale. Like, they threatened throughout, and I think, like you said, Kaylor, they just got caught by a really, really effective press that and the couple of times that they sort of played into Tampa Bay's hands, they got punished.
Any final thoughts from the Super League? As we had Dallas go on top of the league because they played some matches in hand, and now Carolina's top of the league because they just won 1-0 over DC Power as we are recording this. So Carolina is back at the top, and the top 3. I understand that Brooklyn's still in the top 3. When you're looking at a Fort Lauderdale, when you're looking at the Dallas Trinity and Carolina Ascent, it's a fun top of the table that's just kind of constantly just going amongst themselves. Super fun. Any final Super League thoughts before we go on to League One? Nope. All right, let's go to League One, and let's go to FC Naples, who is quietly one of the best teams in the league right now.
Naples, perhaps unexpectedly, is one of the most complete teams in League One, and you see a play here that exemplifies it. They're recovering defensively here, and you see immediately how Chris Heckenberg and Mark Torres, the dual number 6s in this lineup, both track back to stall Texoma out and force what turns into a turnover that leads into a break. Luca Pieper wisely drops to be able to link play, providing that crucial stopgap between phases of action. And then as soon as Carson Henderlog is on the ball, it's off to the races. Jaden Nonan and Andres Ferran are pushing up the wings, providing optionality to get out on the counter. This move doesn't really result in a chance, but it's emblematic of the entire Naples experience.
Yeah, look, FC Naples, we said it preseason because we're still close enough to preseason talk to really still have those talks. that they had a spine that could be amazing. And John, you mentioned it with the dual number sixes. The one that we all talked about preseason was Chris Heckenberg. A lot of us did not really see the emergence of a Torres or anyone like that really showing up. I've been pleasantly surprised, and everything about FC Naples just feels like it's working perfectly.
No, 100%. As you mentioned, we trusted the defensive identity, and we had question marks about guys who have shown flashes in the past, maybe at the USL level, but haven't really done it consistently. And you watch Naples, and Carson Henderlong is absolutely dominant. Jayden Onen has really stepped up and become a contributor where it matters in the final third, which again, we knew he had it in him, but could he do it consistently? Pretty much proving to be a yes in Matt Poland's system. I love watching this team play. I love the organization. A lot of fun and interesting players, like the way they're using Cisneros on his weak foot at fullback. It feels intentional. It feels like they understand the matchup in every given week. And yeah, they're a contender for real.
Yeah, that front line, they're just not afraid to take quality shots. Henderlong, obviously, but also Jayden Onen, Andres Ferrin. And then they're like from top to bottom, they're just a quality team. Here's a fun stat that I found on them. Lalo Delgado, goalkeeper, has 4 clean sheets and 5 appearances this year, but he only has 6 saves. That just shows how great that defense is.
Yeah. I'm personally shocked that we got through this intro and you didn't mention the fact that Jake Dengler scored. That's actually crazy.
That's a great
Dengler
point.
and
I
Evans.
love Jake Dengler. I love Jake Dengler so much.
And set pieces in this one. But I think like Naples, what really stood out to me watching this one is the fact that they've got kind of the USL League One blueprint of a team where it's like, this is what you need to succeed in League One. You need a consistent number 9 who's got some presence, like Henderlong is definitely filling that role. You need a solid defense, which they've obviously got. And you need those couple of like stable midfielders who can just keep things ticking. It's not necessarily like they don't need to be like super flair players or anything like that. They play, 4-4-F and 2, as they say, and it just works a treat. It's like exactly the stable system that they need to play in. And there just don't seem to be a lot of weaknesses about how they set up. It's just very well organized, and they're dangerous from set pieces. That's a recipe for success in League One. Absolutely.
I mean, it's been 6.5 hours since they last conceded a goal in the league, or the equivalent of watching the Star Wars original trilogy.
Obviously.
Do you think any of and this is a question I've had, do you really think that any of the players or coaches kind of hear that and are just like, man, that's cool, and like tell somebody else about it? Because I know there are coaches that listen to this, but I hope somebody like passes that along. Like, we could watch all of Star Wars and never concede. That's awesome.
I will say I've done this stat in the past where I would say what movie franchise they could watch in, and then they'll concede in the very next match. So
that's the
no. That's a
yeah.
no.
that stat jinx, classic stat jinx.
Yeah. Breck Evans, Dengler, you better stay stout. Like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to love about FC Naples, and I think the other side of the coin here is, unfortunately, Texoma. At some point, there is going to be the point of we don't really talk about them as much unless they figure it out, because if teams continue to have great performances against them, but it's always against them, you know what I mean?
I mean, I just think they're straight up not any good. Like, I'm not afraid to say it. Like, we've
on a
seen,
scale of San Antonio to Hartford, where does Texoma fall?
2024 Lexington. Yeah.
Oh, God.
There's the stray. There it
Yeah, first of many for Lexington today, unfortunately.
Well, does anybody have anything else on this match before we stay out west? All right. Let's go to the sold out home of AV Alta, where the two expansion sides of AV Alta versus Westchester kick off. And it is a 2-0 win for AV Alta. And what was a very fun match where you get 2 goals early into the first half, somewhat early. And then AV Alta sees it out. We always saw what looks like the bones, the skeleton of a great AV Alta team, but we weren't sure about the depth versus a team who we saw had a lot of depth in Westchester. AV Alta saw it out thanks to the wonderful backing from their home fans in their inaugural match.
Yeah, has AV figured out their figured out the issues? I sure look like it. And that home field advantage, I think, is going to work very well for them this year. That crowd, the supporters group, the pageantry, the horses. I mean, it was League One after dark. That was well worth staying up for those of us out here on the East Coast. It would look like a rocking good time. Yeah. And then to see Villalobos score in his, he's from that area, to see him score in front of that home crowd, good. I felt so great for him, and then to get an assist as well.
And I thought he and Harrison Robledo really dominated in the midfield against a Westchester team that brings the names in that area of the pitch. And that, frankly, was kind of the problem I had with Alta in their first couple of matches where they were struggling. It felt like the pressing shape was off. The organization wasn't there. Something clicked. Maybe it was the home crowd. Maybe it's just a couple matches of getting chemistry where they really controlled the way the game flowed and where the game was played, which, impressive to do against a Westchester team that I think we all rate pretty highly. So good stuff for Alta.
I stand corrected. Villalobos did not have the assist. He had, I guess, if it was hockey, he would have the assist. But he got the ball down the middle to Pelnov, who crossed it into Alribe for the first goal. But he did score that second one on that awful transition from Westchester that Sebastian Cruz just took down the middle, found Eduardo Blancas on the side, and then who found Villalobos in the box to just put it in. It was a beautiful, beautiful setup.
It was interesting how both teams somehow found like their most promising attacking moves down the right-hand side when attacking right to left across the screen. Like they were, I think both teams were trying to do similar things. I feel for Westchester a little bit in that they still did generate quite a lot in front of goal. It just, AV Alta did a really good job of making sure that it wasn't exceptionally dangerous, and they really only had a couple of moments maybe where it looked like they might concede. So credit to them. They got the lead, like you said, early on and sort of shut up shop. But I think Westchester can maybe be a little bit buoyed by the fact that they are still able to create against maybe a team that was willing to sit deeper and defend that 2-0 lead.
And Alex, like you had mentioned, having this home field advantage is going to be something to watch for AV Alta, especially since across all competitions, 6 of their next 7 games are at home, including a fixture against Orange County in the next round of the Open Cup and back-to-back Jägermeister Cup matches against Sacramento and Las Vegas. It's going to be very interesting to follow this side as they kind of continue to build throughout the season.
Yep.
One player that's been standing out to me has been Miguel Parajo, where I'll admit to you, I don't know much about the second division of Colombia. I really don't. And so, like, he was one of the big question marks when you're looking at Mastritonio onto the other side of him. You're like, okay, that's going to be your standout guy. Pajaro might be the better center back of the two right now. He's unbelievable. If you've sat down and watched them, the way he plays with the ball at his feet, the way that he's able just to ping passes from left to right and defensive capabilities, he's stunning.
100%. And I think the shape of the back line, who was going to be getting those minutes, was a question mark. We've seen some players get healthy. they're really kind of getting to the first choice lineup. I'm thinking about like Walmer Martinez holding down left back. It's only going to get better. Like Baharo can be one of the guys who anchors it, but the talent there is really high level for this league.
Well, I want to go ahead and move over to the championship. We will hit some more League One when we do our open floor or like a kind of our open discussion, because I have a lot of League One talk that I want to have. But I want to go down to the lowlands, the low country, sorry, and go check out Charleston versus Tampa Bay at first with the championship tactics show.
Charleston Battery start this play in what looks like a normal 4-2-3-1, but there's unseen complexity because of Emilio Icaza, a player that's the number 10, but filling deep as if he is a proper center mid in this instance. Icaza brings that intelligence, and you see him jump a passing lane here, immediately pushing upfield into more of a traditional role. He's clever. He knows he can pin this center back for Tampa Bay by just pushing in behind, thereby granting Cal Jennings the space to keep moving, draw more defenders, and eventually slip Juan Torres in behind. This is the cleverness that Icaza brings to the table that elevates Charleston when it matters against strong opponents.
Yeah, there was just a lot of fun stuff in this match. I do want to get to the clip that was shared by our good friend Ben and Charleston Battery's socials. I do want to get there. But overall, I saw a lot of great things from Charleston. Shocker. There was just so much good there. You mentioned Yakaza. He was great. I also want to look at the other side where Tampa Bay is starting to show signs that they can be pretty good. They decided to run back the 2023 roster and said that went pretty well for us with Neil Collins. And I saw a little bit of that again, and that was very pleasant to see. But in the end, Charleston's just at another level.
I mean, I think for me in this game, we've been waiting for classic Charleston to really rear their heads. This felt like they had the balance. And I've liked some of the experimentation we've seen, whether it's like Douglas Martinez at the number 10 spot, some of the rotation at fullback. This was a classic lineup. You've got Allen and Malloy together behind Icaza. As I highlighted in the tactics show, I thought Icaza had a terrific game, and he's a terrific player overall. And honestly, I'm going to push back on the Rowdies point. I was pretty disappointed in this showing from them. Bright coming out of the second half when they finally decided, oh, wait, we should like move without the ball and interchange a little bit. But overall, I thought there was a lot of ball watching. I thought they were slow in terms of their build. It's a lot of warning signs that make me think, man, this might be a tough season for Tampa Bay. And yes, coming on the end of a long road trip as they wait for Al Lang to get workable for the season. But I don't know, just the vibes feel off right now down in Tampa.
I think the reason Charleston probably felt a little bit more classic Charleston as well, like in addition to what you said, John, is just like the amount that Aaron Malloy was in this, right? Like, I just think that Aaron Malloy being the sort of centerpiece of this team and like who the play typically travels through, it just has to be part of how they play because he is such a difference maker. And he probably might be a little bit disappointed with himself in terms of some of the finishing because he does end up on the end of a couple of moves where he probably could have made this a little bit bigger margin. But all that being said, I think we haven't seen him as involved in the games where Charleston maybe doesn't feel like vintage Charleston, and the amount that he was popping up in this one, it just felt like kind of a return to business as usual. Yeah,
John, and you mentioned Tampa Bay having kind of started the season off on the wrong foot. I mean, they have 3 defeats in their first 4. It becomes a concern of looking at their next 3 games as being incredibly crucial to kind of jumpstart the rest of the season. They have their home opener finally back at Al Lang this weekend against top of the table of all teams, Loudoun United.
Player Shield favorites, Loudoun United.
Lads, remember the acronym LADS. Loudoun always does this shit. This is how it always works. They will lose like 11 in a row later this season. Mark my words.
Sorry to interrupt there, Ryan.
But still, like, you have Tampa Bay who's going to be hosting Loudoun, and then you turn around and you have basically a road trip you can't lose this game against FC Naples in the Open Cup, or else we really start asking questions. But then beyond that, you have Louisville. Like, these next 3 games, I think, really are a tough slate for the Rowdies. Fortunately for them, they don't have to leave the state of Florida for any of these games. In fact, they don't have to leave the state of Florida until May 17th, or May 17th is their last home stretch at this time, depending on Open Cup matches. So there is a chance that they could really kind of bolster their season from here on out with this run, especially since they played Miami back-to-back in this time as well. But yeah, it's these next 3 games, I feel like it's going to be really crucial on what type of Tampa Bay team we're going to see this year.
I want to play the clip that was posted by Charleston Battery really fast, if y'all don't mind. I just want to put it. I just want to put it in there. Just give me a second. Got to pull it up.
Hey, my right? Right? Hey, aquí, hey, aquí, no. Hey, aquí. Hey, ahí, yo voy ahí. Yo voy ahí. Hey, aquí.
Okay. There's a couple things that I want to just kind of throw out there. First off, I didn't know why Cal Jennings was chirping him afterward. Now that makes a lot more sense. It's really funny. B, I'm just going to say it. I don't think it's that bad. It's really funny, but also, like, you're trying to do anything you can to get into the, taker's head. It's not a bad dive. If it wasn't perfectly bottom left, like, he probably saved it. And I know that's, not a fun game to do, but every goalkeeper is going to sound like an idiot when they're saying whatever they are to the taker. I don't hate it. It's funny, but I don't hate it.
Yeah,
Some people are like, this is all.
I reject this entirely. Like, that's a career ender. He should be benched next week, is where I'm at with this. Like, Cal Jennings just took his life.
And then shushed him.
I think if anything, Zamudio kind of psychs himself out because he doesn't dive early enough, like, to get all the way over. I think he can save it in the sense that if he knows he's going that way and is going to dive that way, he should just dive that way. It would have been better for him to get all the way across and Cal go the other way than for him to concede in that corner. Like, that is just, he should have been laying down like the draft excluder on the free kick just across that corner of, like, I dare you to hit it over here. But yeah, conceding on that side, it, like, to your point, is it the end of the world? Probably not. I get why Cal Jennings, though, does give it the big one, as they say at the end, because, I mean, you point to that side, you better get all the way over.
And it's against his former team. Like, the emotions are high. You might as well just go all out if you're Cal there.
That's what they brought up on the broadcast, was that he was shushing his former teammate, but he wasn't even his former teammate. It's his former team, but yeah, he wasn't his former teammate. But so I'm glad we got that perspective of seeing the pre-shot chirping.
I maybe unrelated, but I would guess like tangentially related. I have been fascinated by the behavior of players like scoring against their former clubs so far this season, because there has been no like hold the hands up and not celebrate. It has been like big celebrations for guys scoring against their former team. Like even Gabby Torres against Phoenix, like, went kind of all out in El Paso, which I love to see, obviously, but that's been very interesting that there's not a lot of the sacred sort of I used to play for them sort of vibe. Everybody just goes for it anyways, which I kind of love, actually.
Maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like what Cal did would have been different if it was at Al Lang. You know what I mean? It's not like he was in front of former like fans and stuff. It was in front of his own fans, in front of a guy who was telling them where to shoot. If this would have been right in front of, I forget what the Rowdy supporters section is called, but like if it was in front of them, Thank you. If it was in front of them, maybe he throws the hands up, but he's at home. It doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Now, if Cal Jennings celebrates at Cashman like that, there will be blood.
It's gonna run
Which
over the
USL
sideline couch. Yeah.
Which USL player is gonna Emmanuel Adebayor run to an away section this year?
Oh gosh. I
Yeah,
guess
who's
the
the
question
most
is,
likely?
who had the worst relationship back
Yeah,
in their old
right.
club, but that's not a conversation I don't think we should have on here. That'd be awful funny though. Any final thoughts on this one before we move on? All right, I want to quickly hit the CBS match, where I watched this match a little bit later, but I was able to catch it. But the only clip that I really saw of this match was some poor fella losing his nachos. May they rest in peace. But
The
it
whole
ends up
nation saw
being-
that.
it ends up being a good match, 2-1 win for Phoenix Rising as they play the fullback back line, not a single center back to be seen. As it turns out, vibes are just immaculate, and that's how you win matches. 2-1 win for Phoenix Rising in San Antonio.
I mean, you can't overstate how enormous this was for Phoenix Rising, a club that, even if we've liked the performances, just hadn't led for a single minute all season coming into this game. And I think it was the first match where Pamuduka decided, I'm going to be proactive for the jump. I'm not going to be running out the 4-3-3. And you saw that defensive shape change. Part of it is the availability. Part of it is you want more of a shield for the fact that the back line is really patchwork. But I thought it did wonders to stopping what San Antonio does best. And I think you saw as the second half went on, San Antonio got frustrated. They started to push Almir Soto a little bit further up from the defensive midfield spot. Suddenly, Rising had space to get out on the counter, find touches for Damian Rivera, Jerome Margarita, and Isan Sacco to get out on the break. And that changed the match entirely, set up Rising to get the win. A great performance for them. Not necessarily one where I'm overly concerned about San Antonio. A couple of calls didn't go their way. They had a ton of chances in the box. I think they win this game more often than not if you replay it. But yeah, statement for Phoenix in terms of the arc of where that club is going.
Sort of a big coming out party for Braxton Montgomery in goal. Like, I mean, to get the win here, it was almost completely down to him at the end of the match because, like you said, San Antonio, tons of chances. They were kept out by hook or by crook, and it just felt like at certain points, they're about to concede, and for whatever reason, he was able to see things out. So credit to him coming into what has been obviously a difficult sort of goalkeeping situation in Phoenix, trying to replace Rios Novo, and Rakowski being in there now, Braxton Montgomery getting the shot, young kid, and held his own in a really tough environment.
Tristan Henry in goal, Braxton Montgomery.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I was dead. Yeah, sorry. Tristan Henry. Yeah, sorry. I'm giving flowers.
Same
to
deal,
the
though.
guy.
Like, huge
Yeah.
for Henry, who, got some minutes in Memphis last year, but really proved like he's up for it.
Yeah. Yep.
And this was Phoenix's first win in San Antonio in almost a little over 3 years to the day as well. But we had talked about this club like needing a performance, like to actually get 3 points on the board. This has been a team that had both teams to score in each of their previous games to start the year. We were just kind of waiting to see, it's like, okay, when are they going to get into a rhythm here? And this was a huge match for them. What's going to be really interesting for me is how they measure back up to San Antonio when they play them again in the on April 26th later this month.
I have something that I'm monitoring very closely, which is the precedent that Pamuduka is taking with wearing a full suit in Phoenix. He's going to die.
It's not sustainable.
It's going to be 1:10 on a Saturday night at some point. He's going to be sweating like nobody's business, and he's going to have a heat stroke in Phoenix.
I'm not saying it'd be better in the East, but he coaches in the West. Like San Antonio, El Paso, Sacramento, Phoenix. Like, I don't think he thought it through.
And I mean,
Las Vegas.
Phoenix is a different kind of heat. Like, for anyone who's been through Phoenix, there 120 that's not really the rest of the Southwest. Like, it does not get that hot. Phoenix is just different. And so, yeah, I can't imagine the state of like a dress shirt under a suit coat in 120. It makes me physically ill to even think about.
Yeah, maybe he's built different, but I would have a bad time with that.
It reminds me of those college basketball coaches who would start the game with their sport coat on, and then within the first TV timeout, after 5 minutes of play, they've already tossed the sport coat off.
Sleeves are rolled up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ties loose.
I will say the tie is probably the craziest part to me. Like, he had that thing all the way up. There was no loosening that thing. He was willing to just choke. Like, insane. There's no way. But I mean, I know it's not the same as the scarf and like the sweater and all that stuff, but I know we saw Eamon kind of do it. Who was it in Chattanooga that always had the winter scarf on? It wasn't Weekly, but the guy. Yes, thank you. You can do it, but it's insane. But anyway,
another outfit note. I don't know if you caught midway through the game, we're doing a sideline interview with Mitchell Tainer, who's got this really great jacket with fringe, and then they pan down, and I think it's alligator boots that he's got on. Just absolutely great stuff from him there.
It's great. Let's go ahead. I want to stay out west. This is a West show after all. And let's talk a little bit about El Paso versus notable Western team, Lexington. And hey, El Paso get another win. Like, they just kind of keep it rolling. It's 2-1 to El Paso, where the conversation can be Lexington is really faltering right now. They're really showing that they're a team that keeps signing new players every day, right? Like, literally doing that constantly, and they're rotating. But I want to talk more personally about the El Paso side of this. We kind of talked about pregame. They are absolute menaces on set pieces. What they are doing with set pieces is as good as you're going to find in the league. But more of it looks pretty promising. I'm going to just toss it over to Phil first, because you are our resident El Paso guy.
Yeah, I mean, we are Set Piece FC. That's what it gets thrown in the group chat every single time. But they have clearly done something, especially from corners. And when you've got, and I think John probably mentioned this in the power rankings and everything this week, like, when you have Gabby Torres and Memo Diaz, you exploit set pieces. And essentially Wilmer Cabrera said that after the match in the post-match presser, that hey, when you have people with this sort of delivery and the height that they have on the team with the likes of Palermo Ortiz and Wahab Akwe, like, you've got some significant size advantage. So you take advantage of it. But whoever's designing the set pieces, I don't actually know which of the coaches is in charge of that. They've done a really bang up job. And to, have the sort of conversion rate that they have at the beginning of the game. I don't know the corner count from Saturday, but going into the game, they had scored from 8 of the 40 corners they'd taken, which is an insane conversion rate of goals. So they are exploiting, an area where they are strong. The area of concern still in this game is the offensive buildup. Basically, there are two things. The offensive buildup when they aren't attacking from a corner, and particularly when Tumi Moshabane is not playing, how the buildup doesn't make as much sense as when he is in there stitching things together. Amando Moreno's asked to do a lot of drifting across the front three. He's dropping deeper to get involved, and then he's not the one on the end of the play, and it just doesn't really make as much sense. And then from a defensive perspective, and we saw this towards the end of the game where Lexington did make a game of it, and I was thinking it is literally just a matter of time before Locomotive concede the equalizer, and hopefully the clock runs out before they do. The goal they concede, and so many times this season, they are not good at defending when they're caught out of shape. they are fantastic at defending when the ball is in front of them and everything's good. If they give the ball away and have to turn back and run to goal, they concede more often than not, and it is a big problem because you're not always going to be in shape to defend, and you have to be able to react in those moments, and they react so poorly that it is a real area of concern. But overall, this was like a bit of a tricky game. I think at times Lexington like did some good stuff and just wasn't able to like have as much of a dangerous end product, especially in the first half. They were pretty wasteful, I think, of some good touches in the box. But yeah, overall, a good performance, you know, from El Paso, but not perfect. And I think the cracks are pretty clear still.
I think what impressed me in terms of the defensive approach, because you're right to note that this team is very good when they're organized and they can keep the ball in front of them. There was really some freedom for Wahab Akwe and Palermo Ortiz to step up and mark the number 10s in that Lexington kind of 3-box-3 shape. And that's the way to stop this Lexington team. And I think it's why it was such a strong start for the Locomotive in this match. And then you build up to the set pieces. Then you get the second goal from Torres, or rather the assist from Torres, where he gets the interception to start the play, which was fantastic to see. That's really the template that El Paso has to follow as the season goes on. If I'm Lexington, I think I'm concerned about the striker spot. The fact that El Paso could so actively step up as they did was a knock-on effect from Corey Burke not really providing a threat. It was Marcus Epps and Kieran Sargent feeling a bit isolated on the wings and not having the freedom to get inside. We've seen some good signs from what Terry Boss wants to do, but I think they're not quite there yet in terms of the personnel at striker and that kind of plan B when a team knows how to game plan for you. So yeah, two teams that I think are going to be in the mix possibly for home field advantage if they play their cards right in a very open West, but a lot to learn from this match.
Yeah, by the way, just full transparency, I asked Ryan if he knew how many wins El Paso had at home since 2023, and it's been 8 at home since 2023 and 2024, right? It has been an absolute house of horrors for El Paso to play at home. And there was a lot of...
And remember, in 2021, they did not lose a single home match. So it has not always been that way. But yeah. Until the playoffs. But that was, we won't talk about that.
But honestly, what I kind of walk away with was at the very end, there was visible relief from El Paso players, right? Like most of the time, you don't see players looking relief if they won at home. That it's just like, oh, let's celebrate with the fans. Like they've looked relaxed. And honestly, that made me feel more confident in El Paso. It's like, oh, okay, we can do it. We can win here at home. Crazy thing to say. It's not like the support's bad and they play in, what seems like an empty stadium with a sub atmosphere. Like they've had 5,000 fans in this match. I mean, there's a decent atmosphere going on there. So it was just very nice to see that. For Lexington, I'm with you, John. Like you see how Boss wants to play, and you're seeing the structure of what's there. I understand what you're saying with the striker position's not what you want it to be, but also you've bought 30 players and you didn't buy the right striker. Like, what are we doing? Right? Is that just is that scouting department not doing their job? Is that some players just look different on film than they do in person? Or maybe I don't know. I don't know what's going on or what kind of striker actually fits the bill of what they're looking for. Clearly that is the whole, but what are they looking for?
It's an interesting question on all the fronts you raised up, because like Cameron Lancaster starts game 1. He's not played since, and he only had 1 shot in that match. Valesky, pretty clearly a backup. Now they've got Hugo Mbonge on loan. He feels like he might be the answer, somebody who was quite good with San Antonio in limited minutes. I've liked when they've used Braulio Rodriguez as not a false 9, but a little bit more of somebody who's technical, who can link play, more of an active runner. We'll see what gives, because I like so much of Boss's system. even if I feel like they're one position away from really getting over the line.
Well, that's really, unless anybody has any final thoughts on this one.
Go for it.
I was gonna say, I thought with Lexington this year, I'd have at least like 3 or 4 feel-good stories about League One players moving up with the team, and then I look at the roster and I don't recognize anybody except for Brooks Thompson.
Yeah.
I was going to say for El Paso, this is their first time having back-to-back wins, with the match also having over 2.5 goals since the end of April 2023, or when the Super Mario Brothers movie was in theaters. But the one match that I'm looking at for this upcoming weekend is that was April 2023. But the one match I'm looking forward to this upcoming weekend is the fact that per American Soccer Analysis, Lexington has the most XG generated, and they're going up against Las Vegas, who has the fewest XG generated this year. So kind of a sickos match that we all know is probably going to end up being like Las Vegas winning 1-0.
So basically, release the Mario movie, release the Minecraft movie. When the Roblox movie hits, they're winning the USL.
Release the horses.
I will say when that was happening for El Paso winning back-to-back wins with over 2.5 goals, they were in the midst of a 7-game winning streak,
which was quickly followed by one of the worst stretches of the. Anyways,
listen, Phil, you can always enjoy the fact that 7-match winning streak. The very last win was my wedding day, and you ruined it. So
Well, get ready for Saturday, Kaylor. I'm glad I get to bear personal responsibility for that as well. That'll be fun for the rest of our friendship.
Of course.
The last couple of shouts about this is that to the striker point, to just with Lexington to just really nail that one. They actually have 12 passes, completed passes into El Paso's box in this game, and very little to show for it in terms of actual shots generated. And that to me just screams that it's they need somebody who's on the end of these, who is able to receive the ball, back to goal and turn and shoot. And then the second shout, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Gabby Torres in the sense that gets player of the week in USL Championship, and rightfully so in terms of an assist or 2 assists, in the first half here, and so on both goals. So the from the corner, and then in the press, just similar, not the same as Tampa Bay Sun's goal, but similar in that he baits the pass, latches onto the ball, and then is able to slide a pass through for Andy Cabrera. So it was a very, very strong performance from Gabby Torres, who I think is in terms of the early returns, probably the signing of the season so far for El Paso.
Well, for open floor, I want to just quickly throw it over to the upstate of South Carolina, where we're going to go. I want to go Greenville Triumph, where they get a 1-0 win. And it's a bit of an ugly win, but Greenville have been putting together really good performances. And I know we're going to look at the Spokane match and see 4-0 and say, how is that a good performance? But genuinely, the first half could have gone either way. They were so close to just getting goals and it just wasn't working. They were creating shots. It just wasn't working. And it feels like they regress to the mean. They get a bit of an ugly win. I mean, it's an ugly play that scores, but what Greenville's doing in building up, what they're doing defensively, I've been buying into it. It's nice to see them get all 3 points because I thought they've been deserving these last few weeks. One of those being an Open Cup loss, not a league loss, but still, it feels like the 3 points have been coming and that it has been good performances that just weren't being rewarded. It's nice to see them get a reward.
And you're right to point out the defense in this one. I mean, you look at Luis Alvarez's stats, which I think is always kind of the key indicator of how you've performed against the independents. He takes 76 touches and doesn't create a single chance in this
Yep.
game.
One
A lot of that
pinch.
owes to what Leo Castro was doing defensively, finally partnering him with Rapapa Mensah up top, but he tended to kind of drop off Mark Alvarez a lot, especially early in the game. As a result, the Independents had to get Medense deeper as well to seek out touches. It felt like it really obliterated the flow they were trying to build. And hey, you get that goal at the end, which is really an effort play from Rodrigo Robles, dancing around that defense, getting the serve into Castro. It's what you want to see if you're Greenville, tightening up, being better after that Spokane game, correcting the issues we saw defensively. So yeah, promising stuff for the Triumph.
Yeah, that goal looked like a teenager playing FIFA. It was. it was.
Awesome.
I loved it. Yeah, like you said, it wasn't the most beautiful of of plays there, but yeah, he was dancing around Jaime and it looked like you're watching somebody play FIFA. But yeah, they held Charlotte to just one shot on target. I mean, that's incredible with that offensive lineup that Charlotte has. To come back to do that. That was Matt Levy's first league goal conceded. He's had 4 clean sheets and 5 appearances going back to 2024. So his rookie streak is over, but just 1 goal conceded. And then Greenville will have a quick rematch with Knoxville tomorrow, who they lost 3-1 in the Open Cup. That should be interesting to see if Knoxville is for real, or is Greenville for real?
For sure. I want to stay in League One really fast. And then if anybody else has anything, obviously throw it in there. Chattanooga follows up their Open Cup performance by thinking that they were still in penalties. Like you get Vivas with an open play goal, but there were 3 penalties here. Like it was just a continuation. And
yeah,
it 2-2 draw for Chattanooga versus Tormenta. I feel like Tormenta is the epicenter of every chaos match I've ever seen in League One. They refused to play a normal match, just absolutely refused. And it kind of was one of those matches. This was just kind of a vibes match in general, 2-2. It was fun. It was a fun watch.
Yeah, these are 2 teams that seem to thrive in chaos. I really enjoy watching both of them. Like you have the smallest market pro team, and then Chattanooga Red Wolves, which seem to do the very bare minimum, but they have these players who are just scrappy and really trying to do the best they can with what they have. I think it's going to turn into a feel-good story for the players. I'm tuning in every week. My wife and I are big Matt Bentley fans from his time in Richmond. We just want to see him score a goal, an open play goal.
Yeah, calling them scrappy is the right way to put it. They're very, I don't want to say grimy, but it's a physical style of soccer, very defense first. I don't know if they're going to be a playoff team, but they're going to be really annoying to play against all year long. And that's kind of the best you can hope for after how they tended to fold over quite often last season.
Yeah, and you can ask Richmond how annoying it is to play even last year's Chattanooga. Yeah. I don't think Richmond's ever won in Chattanooga.
Yeah, it's been bad luck for Richmond with Chattanooga since that playoff game. It's been kind of rough sledding for them. I did say in the preseason with Chattanooga that they felt like a team who could weirdly go on an Open Cup run purely because they were just going to be so grimy, and I don't want to say dirty. Dirty's not the word, but just does the dirty work, just a bunch of grinders on defense, and you're not going to get a lot of opportunities to score. They're not going to create a lot of opportunities themselves, but they can whittle you down and they can take you the full 120. Maybe they'll score a goal. Maybe they won't. Maybe you'll score a goal. Maybe you won't. It feels like a season that could be a bunch of 0-0s and 1-1 draws, or if you get into it, an unofficial PK like this one, 2-2. But it just feels like it will be one of those years for Chattanooga that they're going to be higher up in the standings than you think, because defensively they're a lot better than I thought they would be coming into this season. So that's something to note.
Tell us how you feel about their corner set pieces.
I hate their set pieces. I hate their set pieces so much. They have quality set piece takers. It blows my mind that they have players that can drop a ball into a bucket. Right, Hernandez is such a good, just placer of the ball. And they continue to do this thing where they have two players standing over the ball. One player runs by it, just touches it with the top of his spike. The other one just sends in the lowest cross possible, and it gets cleared off the line after the first defender. And they do it constantly. It's all they do when they're not within shooting range, and it blows my mind. It's not like they're creating corners off of those. Like they're driving it low into the first defender. They're clearing it out for a corner. They're just getting throw-ins or getting countered on, and it makes me so angry. I hate watching them take long set pieces. Basically, anything that's on the halfway line to roughly around 30 yards out, that space, it's just the most infuriating set piece that you've ever seen. One person run by, we tap the ball, we either send it kind of to the top of the box or we pass it to the guy in the middle of the field who does nothing. I hate it. I hate their set
There's your Stephen A. rant of the night.
Yeah.
Any final USL thoughts? All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to some predictions where I guess it's a little unfair for me to blame Phil for, Birmingham losing and thus saying they ruined my wedding. It was still a great wedding, but did not like seeing the score update. But hey, there ain't no Liam Rose walking through that door because El Paso is taking on Birmingham in the Magic City as Birmingham gets 1 week off. But El Paso, as we discussed, gets a big win versus Lexington at home, but they're having to go away. John, how do you see this one going?
I mean, I wish I knew the Legion's injury report because I think that matters a lot to how this game is going to go. I feel like this is almost do or die time for Birmingham. So for no real tactical whatever reasons, I think the Legion at least scrape a draw away from this, or else there might be consequences.
Alex?
Yeah, I think El Paso is going to stay on a roll. I'm going to go with El Paso.
Ryan?
I've picked El Paso to win this one. Simply put, that the all-time history of this series, the road team has won every game.
Oh, interesting. Phil?
I have this one down as a draw. As much as I like the momentum that El Paso has results wise, I just don't trust them enough to go on the road in this case and not concede some stupid ass goal.
They're very brave of you to assume that Legion will score a goal. So cool.
There's a meme that I will post that is, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's the John Hutchinson, Danny Trejo PTSD meme. So yes. that will be making an appearance on the Seriously Loco account. So keep an eye out for that.
I'm going El Paso. I think that if Danny Trejo starts, if Tyler Patcher starts, if Fanuel Kavita starts, it could be a different conversation. But until Legion forces me to have a conversation that is positive at this point, I don't think I can have one. And hey, prove me wrong. I want to have a good time this Saturday. I think it's on CBS Sports Network, I believe, is this match.
Yeah.
But hey, I can't wait to be embarrassed on national television. It's going to be absolutely great. Next up, we are going to go to League One, where we have Alex's Richmond Kickers taking on Union Omaha, where we talked about Union Omaha getting that big win in the U.S. Open Cup. Richmond, hey, I believe in that forward line, but can they do it against a team like Union Omaha? John?
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see this matchup just as a litmus test for both teams. Not fully sold on Omaha yet this season, like what I'm getting out of Richmond. So going draw, but could see it going either way.
Yeah, for sure a litmus test for both of these teams. But my heart is with Richmond, but my head has to go Omaha here. I don't feel that confident against Omaha ever when from a Richmond standpoint. So yeah, I'm going to say Omaha win.
I picked a draw on this one, but interestingly, the home team has not lost any of the last 6 matchups of this series.
Interesting.
I've got Omaha. I think, it's a little bit of Omaha's been picking up steam. Richmond started well, maybe better than we thought they would. Maybe they cool off a little bit. So I don't know. I just think maybe there's a little bit of momentum in Omaha's court that makes me back them right now.
I'm reluctantly going Omaha. I really like what Richmond's doing, though. I really like Richmond right now, to the point that as I'm talking, I'm convincing myself of Richmond. Like, that's how close I am to kind of flipping between these two. You know what? Whatever. I'm going to go Richmond. I'm changing my mind. I love that forward line. I think that they are so good. Omaha is good defensively, but they haven't sold me this season that they can be defensively stout enough in the midfield and not let it become a little bit leaky into the back line. And there's so much firepower up top for Richmond that I think that they can take advantage of just a little bit of moments from Union Omaha that don't go exactly right. Don't love that pick, but I've convinced myself of it.
Omaha, one quick thing on Omaha, they are briefly joining the USL Championship Western Conference for a week after this match when they play in back-to-back games, San Antonio in the Open Cup and then New Mexico United in the Jägermeister. So they get a little free sample of what it's like to be in the West of the championship.
Does that mean they've technically won promotion temporarily?
The magic of the cup. A shot at glory.
Oh, I'm so excited just to say shot of glory for no good reason over and over and over again. It's my favorite time.
Fun fact, we can't say that in Richmond. It's against the law to use the Jägermeister branding in Richmond. It's against our liquor laws because it's like a sporting event and you can't have a liquor brand as sponsoring a sporting event in Virginia. So we have to call it the USL Cup.
Damn. Protestantism is crazy.
We don't get any of those. We don't get any of the promotional materials. We don't get any of the posters, like the big Jaeger blow up things. None of that because it's against Virginia law.
If Richmond somehow wins it all, do they get the money from Richmond or get the money from Jägermeister?
Yeah, you get the money, but they just can't publicly call it the Jägermeister Cup. They have to say the USL Cup in the stands. Like on TV, you can say it, but
can the players chug Jaeger if they win?
No. I mean, not in public.
In the privacy of their own locker room.
In the locker room, sure, they can do whatever they want. But yeah, we have like some weird liquor laws in Virginia.
I mean, they are
USL. If you have an extra Jägermeister stand, please send it to me. I will make use of it.
Richmond's Jägermeister stand shows up behind Ryan. That would be absolutely incredible. Let's go out to the Super League where Carolina finds themselves at the top of the league. And we've talked about Brooklyn a good bit. Can Carolina keep their streak and stay at the top, or can Brooklyn finally get their first win since December? John?
I mean, be serious. Like, Carolina just outshot DC 8-1 on shots on target tonight. They're top in the division. Brooklyn looks pretty lost out there. This is an ascent win.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Carolina for the exact same reasons. They're unbeatable right now.
Yeah, I've taken Carolina as well.
Phil?
This is where I'm picking up a point on y'all. Brooklyn bounced back out of their slump and I'm gonna take this point nicely because this is where they're gonna find their feet in the second half of the season, and it's gonna be when nobody expects it.
Somebody had to do it.
Well, I will gain 2 points because I'm locking a Carolina win. I just don't see any way. I just don't see any way.
I will talk to y'all next Tuesday. We will.
No.
No, I'm just. It's gonna be like 8-0 now. Carolina's just gonna blow Brooklyn away.
Also, if any Richmond fans are listening, I am last place in the prediction standings. So don't take my Omaha prediction that seriously.
Anything can happen. I had 1 point after week 1, so let's just.
For what it's worth, Kaler is currently first in our predictions pool, and he was in last week. So it's very close together for all of us at the moment.
Fine margins.
Yeah. Also, it's one of these situations. Like I've said this so many times, I refuse to pick draws, and the weeks where there aren't many draws, I usually do pretty well. The weeks that will kill me are when everything's a draw and I just lose all my points. Like those are going to be my killer weeks, and they will come, especially whenever we start predicting Rhode Island because they just do that. So
one of these weeks, I'm going to have to add into my, I guess, USL odds article, the Kaler Hodges parlay, where every single game this weekend just doesn't end in a draw. Just curious, like what the odds would be on all 11 championship games just not ending in a draw.
Oh, you'll probably get some big money from that. I mean, definitely big money from that. And just $1 would probably get you a lot. So
it wouldn't be the most sickest bet that I do.
Fair enough. Any final USL thoughts before we go to final thoughts of the night? All right. John, how about you start us off with some final thoughts?
Yeah, well, message Ryan a little bit about this, but trailers for the new Wes Anderson movie and close to my heart, the new Mission Impossible movie have me hyped. Something about that theme music, man, that just gets me going. That's been my fuel all week long. So, Tom Cruise, I love you. I will join Scientology for you.
Alex.
Yeah, I caught up on the Righteous Gemstones this week.
Yes.
I'm not gonna spoil it. That was just something. The ending of that episode.
Walton Goggins is just a walking masterpiece. Everything he says in that is.
Yeah, and I love when like other members of my family walk in the room and there's like just gratuitous old man nudity. Just yeah. But yeah, it's I don't know where the season's going, but it's always a good time.
Ryan?
Yeah, I know it's probably been locked behind the Patreon for Secret Base for a couple hours, but this is the first time it hit YouTube. But John Boyce's recent video on him fixing the New York Knicks was absolutely hilarious. So if you have like 50 minutes to spare, it was he called it the stupidest video he's ever done, and it was just really funny. So I'd recommend.
Can I tell you something? I'm not a person that boycotts anything. But them dropping Kofi might be enough. I want to support John Boyce, so I'm going to watch all of John Boyce's works, but I can't. I loved Kofi. Brutal. He was so good.
Yeah. His YouTube channel is going really well. It's on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and he dropped a second channel as well.
Good stuff. Phil?
Yeah, we're into the thick of my other sport, like soccer season plus other sports, and the Cubs are fun again, so I'm really enjoying just watching baseball.
Tucker season, baby.
Yep, Kyle Tucker is off to a ridiculous start. So yeah, I've just been enjoying that. But Top Chef, I know like there's a lot going on right now, so John didn't talk about Top Chef, but Canada season hitting, Michael Cera getting an absurd amount of screen time in the last episode.
One of the best guests ever on the show, like knowledgeable about food. Yeah.
Amazing knowledge, hysterical, and clearly wanted to be there and wanted to be on camera a bunch, because most of their guests are on for approximately, 3 seconds cumulatively. So yeah, just this season is a masterpiece so far. Really loving Top Chef. And then me and my wife are going through the back catalog of the foreign versions of The Traitors. So we're on UK season 2. And I gotta say, like, if anybody watches the US Traitors and has not watched the UK version, in which it's all normal people and no reality stars, it is television gold. It is some of the best reality competition TV I've watched in a long time. So yeah, if you're looking for something to sort of switch off to, yeah, Traitors UK on Peacock. Can't recommend it enough.
They'll always forget that you and John are Cubs people. Always forget about that because me and Ryan are Reds. Alex, do you have a baseball team?
Washington Nationals.
Oh,
I guess that is close. Richmond is close to DC, isn't it? Makes sense. Yeah, so I always forget about that. Right now the Reds are actually doing okay. I can't wait to somehow go on another losing 1-0 against streak. I don't think I'll survive that.
I don't know. Ellie with a torpedo bat, like, look out, look out, league.
Yeah.
He's going to be a great player that we can trade for prospects in like 3 years.
I've been looking for some kind of cold open that deals with the USL needing a torpedo bat or something of the
torpedo
sort. I have just like really long, like a clown shoe.
Absolute rockets off of the torpedo boot.
Lovely. I'm really excited for the Chattanooga video to drop tomorrow for everybody. That's what I'm super stoked for. It took a long time just to get everything together. There was so much video that just didn't make the cut, so I'm really excited for that. Y'all are talking about movies. I have not seen it, but go ahead, send out like mini prayers to all of your teacher friends, because if I have to hear Chicken Jockey one more time, it's horrid.
Both of my kids saw that movie over the weekend, and I don't get it. And it was like, I guess it's just not for our generation.
This is officially the
My
point
generation.
where I'm like, I don't understand youth culture anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it was, I walked into school Monday, like I went on full vacation. I went to Chattanooga. I went to Augusta National. Like, I had a blast. And the very first thing I have bebopping into school is a 5th grader yelling Chicken Jockey. I was just like, welcome back.
The next generation is cooked.
Well, if y'all have any final thoughts on the night before we end it?
Yeah,
All
good
right.
for Jack Black staying relevant. I love it. I seriously, I'm not even being facetious. Like, I love that he's remained relevant into the next generation. They love him.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I really do appreciate you all for watching and listening along. It was an absolute blast tonight. We will see you guys again next week, where Phil will probably be right after somehow Brooklyn wins 17-0. It'll be great. So thank you all so much for listening. Until next time, guys, here's Alan's voice.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show. The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see everyone again next time.